Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the New Talk, Moms of Black Boys. I'm DePelsh Magruder, founder of MOBB, and I am so thrilled to welcome our guest this evening, Kuae Noel Kelch, a phenomenal woman. This is Women's History Month, as you know, or depending on when you're listening. March 8th, this past Sunday, was International Women's Day, and we are celebrating women all month long. And a big part of our womanhood journey, I would say, is being a mother. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kuae, who is the national president of Mocha Moms, Inc., and then we'll get into the conversation. Before I do that, I just need to do a few tech things. So if you're watching or listening, please let people know that we're on and share the stream. Invite others to join the conversation. It's going to be a very interesting conversation. Okay, I see we're live on YouTube. Okay, one more and I will be ready to start. Just a moment. All right, so welcome, Kuae. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We really appreciate you being here. Yes, I'm gonna tell people a little bit about you, then we'll get into the conversation. And I won't read your whole bio because it is very full and long and full of so many accomplishments. So I'll give the highlights. But I will start with the fact that for more than 16 years, Kuae Noel Kelch has served as national president of Mocha Moms, Inc., a national nonprofit dedicated to sisterhood, support, and service for mothers of color. Under her leadership, the organization has expanded to reach more than 60 chapters across 21 states, engaging nearly 2,500 members in an online community of more than 100,000 followers. They have weekly support gatherings called Sister Socials, community service initiatives, national program, and create spaces where mothers of color can build lasting connections while advocating for healthier families and stronger communities. Chapters host educational summits, health and wellness symposiums, and financial literacy workshops, while also championing initiatives that support maternal and infant health, including breastfeeding awareness, cord blood donation, vaccination education, and participation in national efforts such as the March of Dimes, March for Babies campaign. I'm going to stop there on Mocha Moms because we're going to be talking about it a little more, but it is nearing its 30th anniversary. So that means Kuae has been national president for more than half of the life of the organization.
Wow.
It's grown into, which is amazing. When I was reading your bio, I couldn't believe that. It's grown into a very significant organization, and Kuae is credited with broadening its national footprint, strengthening the community service mission, and elevating the voices and experiences of mothers of color in mainstream media. Also, that's what she does in her spare time. In her professional life, she is senior vice president at the global public strategy firm Mercury Public Affairs, where she advises executives, organizations, and institutions navigating high-stakes communications challenges. Her work focuses on strategic communications, crisis management. So many people need that right now.
Tell me about it.
I know you're busy.
Oh, yeah.
Media relations and government affairs. Yes, that is all we talk about these days, all of those things. Yeah. And her clients span across business, philanthropy, government, and nonprofit leadership. She also is an Emmy-nominated journalist. So before public affairs, she's working in journalism. Lots of different well-known media brands, CNN, NBC News, MSNBC, The Oprah Winfrey Show, ABC News, and also print publications such as the Miami Herald, Washington Post, and Philadelphia Inquirer. I will save some of the personal things that we'll get into for you to share, but just welcome, Kuae, and thank you so much for joining us and spending this time with us.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So let's start. Like I read your bio, I told the people a little bit about you, but just tell me, just tell us a little more about you, whatever you want to share personally, professionally, your upbringing, who you are beyond the bio.
Well, let me just start by saying that I'm a Philly girl, born and raised in Philadelphia, daughter of a professor at Temple University who was an introvert. And a mother who was a drama teacher and a playwright and an opera singer who was an extrovert.
Wow.
So I think I grew up in a really interesting household because I got a little bit of both of them. My dad would like nothing more than to sit in the chair and read a good book and read it all day. My mother, on the other hand, would have liked nothing more than to participate in sorority events and Jack and Jill events and go out and have fun and go to Ebony Fashion Fair shows and go to Broadway and see shows. So I had a wonderful, incredible, loving, eclectic upbringing. I have a brother and a sister. I am the oldest of three. My brother lives in Philadelphia and my sister lives in Atlanta. So we are separated geographically, but still very close. Both of our parents are no longer with us. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a number of different things, as most kids do. I think I wanted to be a model first, and then I wanted to be a naturalist. And then I was reading all sorts of issues of Psychology Today when I was in high school and decided, oh, of course, I want to be a psychologist. So that was my first major. Oh
my God. Okay, so I just have to stop you right there. Because we have a lot in common. So when I was 6 years old, I wanted to be a model and a doctor. I don't know.
Oh, yes.
Like model at night and be a doctor. I don't know.
Model at night and be a doctor during the day, of course. Right.
And then around the same time in 9th grade, I remember I wanted to be a psychologist because I wanted to help people with their problems. Yep. So I had like this magazine cover with a picture of me on a fake Psychology Today. And I want to hear why you abandoned that plan. I abandoned that plan because I had friends who had problems. They would come to me. I would give them advice. They would listen. They wouldn't do the advice. I'm like, I'm not doing this. Like this, I don't have time. I don't have patience. So tell me how. And then I know where we both ended up. So tell me what happened.
I think that's pretty much part of the reason why I abandoned it. I started to think about the trajectory. I didn't necessarily want to get a master's degree and doctorate and spend the rest of my life helping people in that way. I knew that I wanted to be in some kind of service profession. I knew I wanted to help people. But I wasn't exactly sure it was psychology. And the thing that kept nagging in my head was, you really love to write. I loved every form of writing. I love reading. I love writing. I love poetry. I love creative writing. And I started to think that, maybe I just kind of read about psychology and read about that and do something else that's more up my alley. I should say, though, that my sister is a clinical psychologist. So my sister, even though I chose not to do it, she decided to follow through with it.
So you have it all covered. Yeah.
Have it all covered.
And so what path did you end up choosing? I mean, we know from the bio, but how did you land on journalism?
When I went to Howard University, I decided that I wanted to be a journalist. And my thought was that I was going to be a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist who wrote for the New York Times. And Howard University, with all of its opportunities that it offered, was the perfect place for me to hone my skills and catapult into that Pulitzer Prize winning position. So that was the thought. I majored in print journalism. I did a deep dive in journalism at the time. This was in the 1980s. There was a lot going on in the world. Apartheid was, there were protests against apartheid. I became campus editor of the student newspaper, The Hilltop. I covered, some of my first articles were about the protests at the South African Embassy, Howard University students there protesting against apartheid. So it was a really exciting time to learn journalism and to get that hands-on experience. I also wrote for the Community News, which was a newspaper in the community where Howard University is situated. And I knew very, very early on that I had picked the right thing. And then I did the internships at CBS, the CBS affiliate, and the Washington Post and the Philadelphia Inquirer. And at that point, I said, I've made the right choice. And it has stuck with me all of these years. It's not something that I've wavered on.
Yeah, I agree. I'm smiling because I'm amazed how many parallels there are. I was assistant campus editor at the Hilltop. I also worked for
my goodness, you were?
Yeah, I was. Wow. I was a broadcast journalism major, but also I did print internships and broadcasts. I did an internship at Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the Cox Newspapers Washington Bureau, and then ended up working in local news. So I completely understand your entire.
And we had incredible professors who really nurtured us and helped us find incredible internships and get great experience.
Yeah.
And
was Miss Dudley there then?
Yes, Miss Dudley was there. She
Yes.
was there for a long time.
I know, until very recently. All of my
Yeah,
internships
Dr.
came from
Kagwa
school.
was the chair of the Department of Journalism,
Yes,
and
same.
it was just a really great, exciting time. But when I went back to school, I did get my master's from Columbia. I majored then in broadcast journalism, so
Oh,
I
okay.
kind of got that in
Okay.
as soon as I noticed that I was making a shift from print to television.
Yes, so we're gonna come back to your career,
Mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm.
before we move on to another aspect of life, I want you to share. You mentioned your parents and
Yeah.
you know who they were, but tell me the story of how they met and how that
Mm.
influenced your life.
Yeah, in my mind, it is really one of in my mind, it's one of the greatest love stories. My parents met
Mhm.
on the campus of Howard University in the 1950s.
Mhm.
They met at a party. My dad was dancing, and my mother, being the outgoing woman that she is, approached him at the dance and asked him, was he from Philly? Now, she was from Virginia, but for
Okay,
some reason, she thought that the way he was dancing was Philly
you were
like.
like Philly
He
specific
would,
dances,
yeah,
hip
Philly
Philly moves.
specific. He was doing a dance, he says, called the bop.
Okay,
Um, and I guess it's called the Philly bop. And so
okay.
anyway, she
Oh,
approached him and they started talking and they struck up a conversation and they developed an incredible love on the campus of Howard University. And around the time that they fell in love, they were taking a Latin course together. And the
mhm.
professor came to give this speech in Latin one day, and throughout his speech, he kept saying the word Kuae. And my mother, the creative one, said, you know, I really like the sound of that. I love the way that he says that word Kuae. What
Mhm.
about if we have a child, we name him or her? I think they were hoping it would be a her first, Kuae.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so that was about 6 years before I was born. And
Wow.
6 years later, I was born, and they named me Kuae. In Latin, it is the feminine pronoun of who. It's Quae, but they
Okay.
spelled it phonetically with a K. And yeah, that's the story.
That's beautiful. That is
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful story. I always wondered about the origin of your name, but since I don't really like people asking me that, I don't go around asking people. Like, what
I
does
don't
your last
mind.
name mean? It means
Yeah,
me. That's what it means.
yeah. I think when I was a child, I really wasn't sure about having an unusual name. Kids
Yeah.
in class used to turn around and say, you know, who's this kid with the unusual name? But as I've gotten older, as I've become an adult, I love my name. And they gave me the middle name Noel because my mom said it
Mhm.
kind of softened it, you know, instead of Kuae
Yeah, it's
Kelch, which is
beautiful.
kind of a mouthful.
Beautiful.
She said,
Yeah.
we'll make you Kuae Noel. And
Yeah.
that's what stuck.
Well, now I feel like I have to tell my name origin since we brought it up.
Yes.
So
What is your name
so
origin?
DePelcha, my mom majored in French and liked the word dépêché, which means dépêchez-vous means hurry. So I don't
Yeah.
have like a nice, lovely romantic story to go over. She just, I call it French plus Black creativity. Somehow she got from dépêché to dépelcha. And I've given it meaning because people wanted to mean something. I was born early, so I say I was in a hurry to get into the world.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I love name stories.
So back to you. So
Yes.
we're going to talk about Mocha Moms, but before we do, I would love to just hear, tell me about your journey to becoming a mother and
Mm.
a little bit about your children.
Well, when I got married at the age of 25, I knew that I wanted to have children. It was never, do I want to have kids? Do I not want to have kids? I
Yeah.
knew that I wanted to have kids. And so my husband at the time and I started having children about 5 years after we were married. And I now have three kids. I had my first child in my 30s, early 30s. And then 3 years after that, my son, and then my youngest, my daughter, in my late 30s. Um, they a friend of mine said this a long time ago, and it's just kind of a line that stuck with me. And that is, in giving birth to my children, I think that they gave birth to me because
Mm,
my experience as a mother with my children has been nothing short of incredible. I think it is life's greatest blessing to have the opportunity to have children, and even more so to have the opportunity to nurture them and to watch them grow as I have.
mm,
They are grown now. I can't believe I'm saying that I have three grown children now, but My oldest child, Teddy, just turned 29. I cannot believe I have a 29-year-old since I'm only 30, of course.
Right, I know. That's like a medical miracle.
I know, it is a miracle. But yeah, she turned 29. Teddy is what I call my global girl. She grew up where I raised my kids in Montclair, New Jersey. She went to UCLA, graduated, and then set off around the world. She has been everywhere, India, France. She got her master's degree at the Sorbonne in Paris and Egypt. She taught in Nigeria. She spent time in Morocco. She's just been everywhere. And then she just decided last year that, she'd pay her mom a visit after 4 years away. So she's back in New York, working at the UN and doing some incredible stuff. My son, my middle child, my only son, my wonderful, incredible son, also raised in Montclair, New Jersey, went to Penn, went to Wharton undergrad, and got a Bachelor of Science degree in quantitative finance, and is really involved in some incredible work. He is co-founder of a nonprofit about financial literacy called First Generation Investors. And so he is knee deep in the financial Wall Street world, helping young people learn about the power of investing and the stock market.
Yes, and I'm
you will hear more about that.
You will hear more about that because he is our guest next week. Come back next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. instead of 8. And her son Cole will be our guest, and I've had the opportunity to get to know him. I think he came with me to the event one time. He's phenomenal. Yes,
he's an incredible.
He's just a phenomenal young man.
I know. I say incredible kid, but he's grown up. All of my children have grown up to be incredible, fascinating young people. Just opinionated, smart, savvy. My youngest is my daughter Evan. She just graduated from Tulane, and she's planning to apply to law school in a couple of years. So she's part of that crazy job market that young people are in right now, looking for work and trying to find the right fit before she makes that application to law school. So it has been wonderful. I always say this on social media when I post about them. It's been the greatest honor of my life, really, to be their mother and to be in their lives. And I'm just honored that, they still want to hang around with me.
Yeah. My child doesn't want. I just went to, now you're making me feel. I just went downstairs to say hi to my son, who's 14. He got home school. What do you want? Like the door's closed. So hopefully he'll want to hang out. He used to like hanging out with me. Hopefully one day he will want to hang out with me again. So thank you, and kudos to you on making it this far in your motherhood journey. Many of us are trying to get to where you are. So congratulations. Take a deep breath. So I want to shift to talking about Mocha Moms, where you've been the national president for the past 16 years. Tell me, first tell me, how did you get involved with Mocha Moms? Because I know you've been president for 16 years, but you were involved almost from the beginning.
Yeah. Mocha Moms was started in 1997 by 4 mothers in Prince George's County, Maryland. Most of them were at-home mothers. And the thinking then was they wanted to connect with other at-home mothers that looked like them. As we know, there really has been no blueprint for Black mothers who've made the choice to stay at home. And they wanted to connect with other mothers across the country. So they started a newsletter in 1997 and sent it out to about 100 moms across the country to connect with them. And it was really popular, and moms really loved connecting with each other. And they decided shortly thereafter to make it a nonprofit organization. But I found out about Mocha Moms because I lived in the city, in New York City, for a period of time. And my husband and I bought a house in New Jersey and moved out to New Jersey. And I had just left my job at NBC News when I was pregnant with my son, and made the decision that I was not going to go back to work, at least for a period of time. And so here I was in New Jersey in this big house, feeling a little lonely, feeling a little isolated, and really wanting to connect with other women. The icing on the cake was that I started to connect with other women who look like me. When I was in the city, I was part of a mom's group at a synagogue on the Upper West Side. And I found I really loved every week going to that gathering because we talked about things that we were going through that we thought, for some reason, we thought we were the only one who were going, who was going through it. You know, my kid couldn't sleep through the night. I thought I was the only mom on earth whose child couldn't sleep through the night. And lo and behold, here's a whole room of mothers who said, really, my child can't sleep through the night either. But here's what I did. And so the more and more I talked to moms, the more and more I felt more comfortable about the decisions that I was making with my own children. And the more and more I felt empowered and strengthened and educated about motherhood and about the choices that I was making. So as I moved to New Jersey, I was talking to a girlfriend of mine in Virginia, and she said, have you heard about Mocha Moms? And I said, Mocha Moms? No, I haven't. And she said, well, there's an organization that's been around for a few years, and they support stay-at-home mothers. She said, excuse me, I'm going to take a drink because I'm think of tea.
Yes, me too. I had a sip of tea. It's okay.
Excuse me, recovering from a cold. She said, I heard about this organization, and I think you'd love it. Since you feel a little bit isolated, maybe you'd like to join. And I found out that there was not a chapter of Mocha Moms in my area. So I decided to start one. And that's how it came to be.
Wow. And so you got involved right away, and you know, so much has happened. So I don't know how you told the story, but
oh my goodness,
you got really involved, and you rose up through the ranks of the organization.
Oh my goodness. So I started the Essex County, New Jersey chapter of Mocha Moms. I found myself meeting mothers in different places.
And how many chapters were there at that point? Do you remember when you joined? When you started the chapter?
Very few. There was a heavy concentration of chapters in, excuse me, in Prince George's County, Maryland.
Okay.
And there were other chapters throughout the country, but I think it was just a handful of chapters. And so I started the Essex County, New Jersey chapter. I met moms at the supermarket, at the Y, all over the place. And there were 10 of us that started that chapter. And we really loved being with each other and supporting each other and lifting each other up. And sometimes it was just about the simple things. If someone had a baby, we would cook meals for that mom. And we would bring meals to her family for the first 2 weeks of her life. If she was tired, maybe we'd watch the baby while she went upstairs and took a shower. We just did little things to support each other, to make us feel stronger and to make us feel more comfortable as we grew into this new phase of motherhood. So how I grew into the organization, kind of interesting. A friend of mine told someone on their national board that I was a journalist, and I know they were looking for someone to start telling the story of Mocha Moms and start giving it media and publicity. And honestly, I think I was voluntold. You've heard that term, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was voluntold to be on the board. And
okay,
before I knew it, someone reached out to me and said, we're looking for a national director of media and publicity. Would you be interested? And I was very interested. I was enjoying being a part of the organization, and I really wanted to help lift it up. And that was my first role in Mocha Moms. And very exciting time because people wanted to know who we were. One, people did not believe that there were Black mothers who were
staying at home,
who were making the choice to stay at home.
Who were staying at home and not not on government assistance.
Exactly. And that was the immediate assumption always, that we were a group of mothers who were on government assistance who had formed this organization.
Did people really think that? I was kind of joking.
Oh, absolutely. No joke. There are many people would say, oh, they would make assumptions, and they would think that we're single and think that we're on government assistance. And I had to set the record straight. A lot of what we did very early on in our organization was really to set the record straight, to say that, yes, there are 2-parent households with a mother and a father, and the mother has made a choice to stay at home. So a lot of it was setting the record straight. And then there were folks who were just really interested in this group of Black mothers who made the choice to stay at home. Why are you staying at home when in the Black community, the path to achievement is climbing up the corporate ladder. So why have you made this choice? So there were a lot of questions.
And why did you make the choice? We actually didn't cover that.
Why did I make the choice? One, because I could. because my husband and I talked about our finances, and
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I could spend a period of time out. We weren't rich, and I knew I wasn't going to be home forever, but we
Mm-hmm.
knew that it was possible.
Mm-hmm.
And we had purchased a house that was manageable on his income.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other reason was something that my mother told me many, many years ago. She told me that she spent a year at home with me, and it was a really big deal. She was so proud of this year that he was
Mm-hmm.
able to spend at home, and she
And
talked
do you
about
remember that, or were you too young to remember?
I don't remember it, but I remember how precious she said this time was.
Yeah.
And I was at a point in my career when I wanted to take a step back. I really felt this tug, this pull to be
Mm-hmm.
at home with my children. And here I was once again in this house, in this new community. I was looking forward to spending time with them and exploring the community together
Yeah.
with them. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So National Director of Media and Publicity fed into becoming National Director of Community Service.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2010, when our national president at the time stepped down, and everyone on the board looked around and said, okay, who's going to be national president? And I was like, I guess that's me. And so here we are 16 years later.
There ever since. How many national presidents have there been?
We've only had 2 or 3 national presidents.
Yeah.
We've had very few. And one of the original 4 founders is still on our board. She is our voice of reason. She is our historian.
Mm-hmm.
She's the person who keeps us grounded and reminds us each and every time about the mission and purpose of the organization and why we exist. And we've changed throughout the years, but she reminds us about how it came together.
Well, let's talk about that. Tell me about tell me what is the mission and purpose as stated, and how, what are some of the activities that you do, and how has it evolved over time?
So Mocha Moms was, as I said, initially created to support stay-at-home mothers of color.
Mm-hmm.
That was its mission and purpose. The sisterhood support and service has always been a part of it. That didn't really become our tagline until later on.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the years, we discovered that many of our mothers who had made the choice to stay at home then were going back to work. And so what we saw was that a stay-at-home mom in January can very well be a working mom in September. Mm-hmm. And so we decided after a number of years that it made more sense not to just focus on stay-at-home mothers, but to focus on mothers, whether they worked or not, regardless of their circumstance, because we're all in one big boat together. And so we kind of made a shift in terms of our focus and kind of opened our doors a little broader and welcomed all mothers of color, all Black mothers in particular, who were interested in focusing on their children, but also more importantly, in focusing on themselves. Mocha Moms, and we say this all the time, Mocha Moms is for the moms. There are organizations that are for kids and for children, but Mocha Moms really focuses on us. We spend so much time caring for our kids, putting on our cape, rarely taking off our cape, and so little time focusing on ourselves, practicing self-care. So Mocha Moms is really about taking care of each other, lifting each other up, supporting each other, and practicing self-care, realizing that taking care of ourselves is sacred. And while we're also taking care of ourselves, we should be giving back to the community. So that has kind of become the cornerstone of our identity, our sisterhood, our support, and the incredible service that all of our chapters do all throughout this country.
Sisterhood, I'm going to type Sisterhood Support Service. Is that?
Yes,
okay.
That's it.
I'm going to share this with the people.
Yeah.
And how did that change, like, the type of activities you had or what you focused on as you made this evolution from stay-at-home moms to all moms of color?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the very beginning, I think we focused on some very basic things for stay-at-home moms. I mean, many Black stay-at-home moms were trying to figure out what their place was in their particular community. And so I think a lot of what we did back then, even though we've always done community service, was a little bit more insular. It was about taking care of each other and helping each other navigate through this new life, and helping each other feel stronger and smarter and bolder about the choices that we're making with our kids. As we discovered that more moms were going to the office, we shifted some of our activities. We always have a daytime, what we call mother support group meeting. The daytime mother support group meeting, often new moms come with their babies. They're looking for a way to connect with other mothers. They come to that daytime support group meeting because they're home during the day.
Right.
But
So
for
you
our
still
working
have that
moms,
core for moms.
oh
who
yeah,
can't get
we
together.
always have that core, and that will always stay a part of us. But for our working moms, we started having those support group meetings at night. And we started focusing on the things that working moms were interested in doing. They were focused on work-life balance. Many of them were interested in doing more advocacy. So we tried to start focusing on those things that moms were interested in. We also tried to provide levels of support for the varying seasons of motherhood. And this is one of the biggest shifts that happened in our organization. I think a lot of people who hear about Mocha Moms think of moms with new babies. But Mocha Moms is for every season of motherhood. We now have about 10 different networks within our organization. There is a network for mothers of adult children, of which I would be a member of that.
Yeah.
There, we've added a few new networks. We have a Mocha Singles Network because some of our moms are divorced, they're widowed, they're single. So we want to address their needs. We have networks for homeschooling moms, military moms. We also just added a new network this year because we thought it was really needed for mochas who are dealing with grief and loss. And not just grief and loss of a family member, grief and loss of losing a job, grief and loss from dealing with something personal in your own life. We thought these moms might want to connect with each other and share resources. So what we're working on, and we will continue to work on, is providing networks to impact every single season of motherhood.
That's beautiful. And as you look at your membership now and kind of like where people are, what do you think is top of mind for Black mothers these days?
Ooh.
What are you hearing?
Well, let me just tell you about just a typical Mocha mom, and I'll kind of get into that.
Okay.
A typical Mocha mom is probably ages 30 and up. It's about ages 30 to 45. They have on average 2 kids. Whereas years ago, many of our moms were at home. We find that about 70% of our moms are now working in some way, shape, or form, full-time, part-time, flex time. And then the others might have home-based businesses. They might be home, but they might have home-based businesses, and then a percentage of them are stay-at-home. What we found over the years is our mothers are more and more interested in advocacy. They're really interested in their kids' education. There's a lot of talk this year about the end of the Department of Education and how that's going to impact our children, how the onus falls on the states, and what's going to happen in our respective states. So education is top of mind. Self-care, as I mentioned, definitely top of mind, because moms understand that if they don't take care of themselves, they're not going to be around to take care of their children. So that's one of our big things. We talk about breathing and meditation and ways to practice self-care. And we reiterate that over and over again because we forget to take care of ourselves. They're also interested in more and more what's going on in the world. So as some folks have seen, we've been a little bit more vocal when war breaks out or when someone is killed. We know that our moms are interested in writing to their congressmen. They're interested in signing petitions. Some are interested in protesting, but what we're trying to provide them is other ways to become active and to become advocates. Criminal justice, racial justice issues, big with our moms. And work-life balance, of course, is always a big issue.
And do you help on the advocacy front, do you help to equip them to be effective advocates in public forums?
Yes, we're doing that more and more. We have some great partnerships. We are part of the Black Women's Agenda, which is an umbrella organization that has about 24 organizations underneath it. We're part of that. And this year we just joined the National Council of Negro Women, which is very active in advocacy and voting rights efforts. And so we are kind of tag teaming with them on that, and also providing more and more resources for our moms to advocate, providing them templates and ways that they can reach out to their own political representatives. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, very important. It's always important, but especially right now, it's important to make our voices heard.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I read in your background materials is that Mocha Moms was invited to the White House for a historic Moms Summit. This was not the current White House, but during the Obama administration. Tell me about that day and what that experience was like.
Well, one of our Mocha Moms was the director of the Office of Public Engagement at the EPA. And she loved us and loved being involved with Mocha Moms. So she told the White House about us, and they reached out to us and really brought us in and made us a part of their extended family. One of the things we talked about was their interest in talking to moms about the issues that were important to us. And they also wanted to share with us what they were doing in their respective agencies, what the EPA was doing, the Department of Health and Human Services. They wanted to bring their senior officials to us to talk to us about what the Obama administration was doing. It was an incredible historic day to be able to bring nearly 200 of our leaders from across the country to the White House to meet with senior Obama administration officials. We were, I think, on cloud nine. Like, we could not believe that we were at the White House. We were taking photos. We were taking in every single aspect of that experience. And then afterwards, some of us had a tour of the West Wing and really felt like we were a part of the process. Those last 4 years of the Obama administration, they turned to us a lot. When President Obama did his State of the Union speech, they immediately reached out to us. What did you think? Did he miss anything?
Wow.
Tell us what your thoughts are. Write it out. Share it with us. We went back and forth to the White House 20, 30 times for everything from Easter egg hunts to Mrs. Obama's Mother's Day tea to policy forums, summits. They really were interested in folding in Black moms, and we so appreciated that. And I have to tell you, that has not happened since then.
Yes, that is incredible.
Yeah.
And I have to mention this. Speaking of the White House, you also have a very personal relationship with someone who almost made it to the White House and were very involved in the campaign. Do you mind sharing that with us and what that experience was like?
Not at all.
Cloud nine, we were almost there.
Who would have thought, let me just go back a little bit. Who would have thought that in the spring of 1986, 38 women would get together on the campus of Howard University to become initiated into our sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And that one of those,
sorority.
Yes, our sorority. Yes.
Alpha chapter.
Alpha chapter, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And that one of those 38 women, my line sister, was none other than former Vice President Kamala Harris. It was unbelievable to all these years later.
I have chills just I know it, and I have chills just from you saying it even now.
It's just, to think back on those days when we knew each other, when we were on campus, when we were going through the whole process, and then fast forward to today or this era, to see our line sister elevated to vice president and to see her as a presidential candidate. I still get chills when I think about it.
You all were right there with her throughout.
We were right there with her every step of the way. We made a pact that wherever she was, if one of us was in that city or in that area, we were going to make sure that we were there to kind of give her a piece of home. And she was really excited to see us every single time. We hugged her, we whispered to her, any chance that we got to spend time with her, we did that. But we also did the hard work. We were raising funds for her. We hosted freedom rides to swing states. We were knee deep in the campaign. Not only were we knee deep in the campaign, we were also there on that night on the campus of Howard University, on the yard, when everything went down.
Yes, I was there too, waiting.
And you remember that feeling. right?
Oh,
When
yeah.
it was
I
just the
remember how the night
eerie.
started. Like, I walked on campus and it was just like
Whew,
this magical, I can't even describe the feeling of walking on campus that night, and then as the night went on,
oh,
how the mood changed, and it just
the
became very
mood
silent.
totally changed. We were at a celebration, we got on a bus, we came over there, we were excited, but the moment we got off the bus, it's just like the air was flat. And
Hmm.
then people were talking, and then it was quiet. And then as I looked around me, and by the way, I was as the resident journalist on the line,
Mhm.
I was the person responsible for booking all of our interviews and responding to media
Oh, wow.
requests. And there were journalists and media outlets from all over the world who had reached out to us. We were, I think, supposed to be on the Today Show the next day. And,
Mhm.
we had
I
all
remember
these
seeing you on
plans.
CNN
I
at
did
the
everything
convention.
lined up. We were going to be on everything.
Yeah. Oh,
Um, and to stand there in the middle of the yard and then to look around me, and you know how the lights are on from the press. I
yeah.
see the lights start going off one by one. And we said, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. And
Hmm.
most of us spent that night until the next day because we just wanted to hear her speak. We wanted to hear her
Mhm.
say something.
Mhm.
And I remember there was a lot of kind of jockeying trying to get in the front because our plan was we want her to see us. We want her to see us
Yeah.
right here in the front. And my line sister wore her pink and green hat that said our line on it, 38, Jewels of
Okay.
Iridescent Splendor, JOIS.
Mhm.
Because we just wanted her to see us. And then she gave her speech. And it was, I have to say, when I think about the emotional moments in my life, it was one of the most um, emotional, powerful, and sad
Yeah.
moments
Yeah.
in my life. Yeah,
Absolutely. And she did such a phenomenal job in such a
phenomenal.
short amount of time. Like,
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
thank you. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for all of your contributions to helping.
of
It's
course.
still making history, even though it didn't, end as expected. It was still a very historic moment and experience that I certainly will never ever
Oh,
forget.
that's absolutely right. I mean, and it's her story still continues. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, on that note, we're going to shift gears. You mentioned being
Yeah,
a journalist,
yeah,
and I want to hear more about your professional career because we are balancing a life. I know you stayed at home for quite some time, but you spent many years as a journalist and a TV producer.
yeah.
What did you love about those experiences, and what did you learn from it?
Well, I think I'm the type of person that does not like to come into work and have every day be the same.
Mhm.
So
Me
one of the
either.
things yeah, I mean, who wants to do that, right?
Yeah, a lot of people do. I'm
I
amazed by how many people
know.
do. Like now, I mean, I used to be a journalist too. I'm going to let you tell your story, but
Yeah,
just interjecting that. So I started in journalism. Now I'm a COO, which sounds like far away from that. But what I like about it, I'm not in a department. Like I can't be in a department. I need
right.
to be in all the departments. I need to see what's going on
Yes,
here, over there. I need to not know what's going to happen next. Like I need that. I couldn't
that's
just be in
exactly
the same
right.
department all day long talking about the same things. I want to talk about what I want to talk about and everything you're talking about. And then I want to mix it all together and see how it all fits together.
Yes, 1000%.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
1000%. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I already knew that that's the kind of person that I was. And I think what I loved about being a journalist was being on the front lines of news each and
Mhm.
every day and feeling as though I was an active participant in sharing that news, shaping public opinion. Um, it seems as though throughout my career, almost every stop that I've made, there's been some big news story that has kind of impacted my life. The very
Mhm.
first day of my internship, really early on at the CBS affiliate in Philadelphia, that was the day that the city of Philadelphia decided to drop a bomb on a group of people called MOVE, um,
Mm.
and decimate a whole block. It was a big, big news story in Philadelphia. My first week at the Oprah Winfrey Show when I worked for Oprah was the 1 year anniversary of her pulling out that big wagon with 67 pounds of fat after she lost all that
Oh,
fat on
yes.
OptiFast. I
Yes.
know I'm dating myself
No,
with these
everybody, I mean,
stories,
if you
but
were alive, you remember that.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
you were old enough, yeah.
yeah, big stories have always been kind of adjacent to me and to my
Mhm.
life. And then when I landed at CNN, We worked on covering the Trump administration, the Me Too movement, the
wow.
presidential impeachment proceedings, the war in Ukraine, and then COVID hit. And we covered all those horrific stories during COVID. And we did them mostly from home. We put on a 3-hour live morning show from
Right.
home.
Yeah. And
So,
what was your role then when you
I
were working from home at CNN?
I was an editorial producer. I was a booker.
Okay.
So I was chasing the breaking news. I was chasing stories all across the country. It was high intensity. And I did that for almost 7 years before I joined my current company.
Okay.
And it's probably why I decided to leave
Yes,
doing that. We'll
I
get to that.
about the pivot.
Yeah, we'll
Before
get to
you share
that.
that,
But
tell me, like, what do you think about the state of journalism today? Like, I mean, I know we were both trained as professional journalists, and there were certain expectations for what journalists would do and how it worked and the balance and the truth, things like that. But what do you think about like the state of journalism?
I think the state of journalism today is weak and dysfunctional, sadly. So much has changed. The traditional advertising models have changed. Media outlets are trying new revenue models. There have been massive layoffs. Newspapers have been shuttered. There are news deserts all throughout the country where people are not getting adequate news. And trust has been eroded. I mean, particularly in this climate, trust has been eroded. People cannot tell what is true and what is not true. They don't know the proper sources to get truthful news. And even when that is a source that might have truthful news, there are signs that news and editorial judgment has been compromised. So
absolutely,
I think we're in a really
polarized. There's no truth. Like before, we watched 3 networks, and they're all saying the same thing, more or less.
Yeah, it's sad to see. It's sad to see, but there are some rays of hope. One is that the rise of independent journalism has brought about all sorts of truths. Don Lemon, Joy Reid, folks who were part of the mainstream media who now are doing their own thing and are now able to take the muzzle off and be vocal and speak about what's going on and be truthful. I appreciate that, whereas we didn't have that before. So it's really great to see folks who spent a long time kind of towing the company line, and now they're doing their thing and they're speaking their truth. So that's good to see. I think social media has changed things. People get their news from all sorts of different sources. I'm not entirely happy about that. When someone tells me they get their news from TikTok, I'm like, oh, okay.
Right. You don't even know if it's a real source. Podcast.
You have no idea.
Which are
exactly. But like here we are in a podcast, there are all sorts of new ways of transmitting news and information that I do appreciate. I love podcasts. I love listening to podcasts. That's news that I didn't hear before. So there is good in it, but I think journalism itself is struggling. I do commend my brothers and sisters who are staying in journalism, who are fight alive. There are a lot of people out there who are hardworking, who still believe in the ideals of journalism, and I applaud them. I applaud them for sticking with it.
I do too. We need them. It's hard.
We certainly do.
It's such an important pillar of democracy.
Yeah.
So tell me, how and why did you make the pivot? You hinted at it, but how did you shift the affairs?
I think CNN did it to me. I think, and I'm not going to blame CNN specifically, but I was in a very high intensity position that required me to be on my toes, moving quickly all the time. I felt like a hamster on a wheel often, You hop on the wheel and you keep moving and you keep moving, and you keep moving, and rarely do you hop off. And the news just kept coming. There were so many big stories during that period of time. I mean, COVID in particular. Huge crime stories, just horrendous things that happen. And I think that many of us started to feel a numbness as we were part of these teams covering these stories. And my feeling is this: when you start to feel numb, when horrible things happen and you're starting to feel numb, you need to take stock of what you're doing and why you're doing it and whether you need to continue doing it. And I think I started to wonder, is this something I want to do for any length of time? And where's my path after this? And what is it I want to do? And I started to think, maybe it's been a long time. I've been doing this for a long time. Maybe I need to do something different. Maybe I need to try something different. I didn't want to do a big pivot. I didn't want to switch to a whole nother career or a whole nother industry. I wanted something that was adjacent, that allowed me to use my skills and, do well in that field. So that's kind of how the pivot happened. Okay. It's, I often
what are your days like now? I don't think they're quiet.
Oh my gosh! I thought I was going to hop off that hamster wheel, but guess what? I'm on another hamster wheel.
Yeah, sounds like
different pace. Whereas I was chasing stories before, I'm working on behalf of clients right now. One of my clients is the African American Mayors Association, which represents 500 Black mayors across the country, many of whom are mayors of some of the biggest cities. And as you know, quite a bit going on in those cities. Yeah. So, it's still a fast pace, but I really appreciate the mission-driven work of what I'm doing right now. Before, wasn't quite mission-driven, it's journalism. So it's a little bit different. It's a lot different, actually.
Yeah. But you help them with strategic communications and crisis management.
Absolutely. And all of the skills that I learned as a journalist, I deploy as a strategic communicator. And I think I kind of have a bit of a leg up because I put on my newsroom hat often. I put on my journalist hat. I made people who work in public affairs who don't know how journalists think and what journalists think. I feel like I have a unique insight into that because I was a journalist for so long. And a lot of folks, come to me because they want to know when's the right time to send this. Who should I send it to? And I know a little bit more about that, just a little bit more, because of the time that I spent in a newsroom. So absolutely. I'm also learning. I'm growing.
Are very fortunate to have.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm learning. I'm growing. I'm dipping my hand a little bit in government affairs, learning a lot about the entire field of communications. I know journalism is a sector, a very different sector, but it's been really interesting and wonderful to work for amazing clients who want to do good in the world and want to tell their story and want to get their message out. So I'm helping them do it.
Well, that is an amazing journey. We're almost out of time. I don't want to keep you all night, but I just realized we missed a significant part of your story, which is
what did we miss?
We missed like how you decided, like how long you were at home, how you navigated going back to work. I know that your career and personal journey were featured in a New York Times Magazine article that I remember well. I remember when this came out, called the opt-out generation. The opt-out generation wants back in.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear like how, I guess your story was told there, but tell us, like, how did you navigate being at home for, was it 13 years you stayed home?
13 years, yeah.
Which is a long time. And I think a lot of people in that situation worry that if they stay at home that long, they won't be able to get back on the fast-paced career. So how did you do that, and how did you decide to do that? How did you figure out the timing? All of that.
13 years was unplanned. Like I didn't go into it saying it's going to be 13 years. I didn't go into it saying it's going to be 10 years. It was really just supposed to be a few years, maybe 5 or 6 years. When one of my children went to kindergarten, I was supposed to go back to work. Truth be told, excuse me, I'm sorry. Truth be told, I was having a hard time getting back to work. It took me, I'm not sure of the exact amount, but I tell people 5 or 6 years. It took me 5 or 6 years to get back to.
Of actually trying to go back. Wow.
To get back to the work that I know and love. And there are a lot of things that I did wrong. One of the things that I did was I spent a lot of time applying for jobs online and not as much time networking with people, reaching out to people and talking to them about jobs and about opportunities. That was one thing. The other thing that I did, which I think was tied to feelings of shame, was I didn't share with my friends that I was having a hard time finding work. There was some shame that I felt about, here I am, this journalist who spent this period of time at work. And, I guess folks thought I had it going on.
Yeah.
When at all this time that I was home with my kids, I was starting to think maybe I don't really have it going on like I thought I had it going on. And I went through a heavy period of shame. I didn't want people to know I was having a hard time. And I also went through a heavy period of self-doubt. Just, am I a stay-at-home mom? Am I a professional?
Right.
Where do I fit? And I think that went on for a long period of time. And I think all of those things impacted my search, which took a long time. So what happened is someone named Judith Warner, who was the reporter, who was the writer of that piece in the New York Times, reached out to me to talk about Mocha moms. She had written a book called Perfect Madness, Motherhood in the Age of Anxiety. And this was really about women who dive deep into the world of motherhood and kind of generate their own anxiety. They're hyper-parenting. They, feel like they have to be there at all times in every aspect of their child's life. And her book kind of argued that a lot of this motherhood madness was self-created, that women created this because they felt this need to be around their kids. And so she reached out to me, and this is why a lot of folks reached out to me, because she hadn't spoken to any Black mothers, or she wasn't speaking to as many Black mothers as she wanted to.
Right.
And she wanted to talk to moms and Mocha moms about their experiences, not just with Perfect Madness, but with other projects that she was working on. And as we talked, I remember we had this very long conversation. I said to her, I'm having a hard time going back to work. And she said, oh, really? Tell me about that. And so that, I think, evolved into a 2-hour conversation. And I said, I want to get back in, but I'm having a hard time. And I'm not sure how to navigate this, because I'm getting all these questions about, what did you do for 13 years? And you took yourself out. And I was just having a really difficult time. And so
you didn't do any freelancing or anything during that time?
I was freelancing the whole time. I was freelancing the whole time. I was doing, I wrote chapters in books. I was covering civil rights meetings. I wrote a peer-reviewed article for Breastfeeding magazine. I was editor-in-chief of a magazine called Black Family Today.
Yeah.
But it still was not coming together in the way that I wanted it to come together. And so she said to me, the New York Times is interested in doing a cover story for the New York Times Magazine about women who have made the choice to leave work and who now want to get back in. And I became one of the 3 women that she profiled. And that was a big turning point for me. It was a really big turning point for me, because I think it was the first time that I spent time with someone, a reporter for the New York Times, sharing my story. My ex-husband at the time talked about it. And it's like my story was out. It wasn't out before, but now it's out. It's out to the whole world. And I heard from a lot of women who said, thank you for saying that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm feeling the same things. I'm struggling with this, and I really appreciate your story. And so that was the big turning point that ultimately got me back to work.
Did it lead to a job?
Not immediately, not immediately, but it did lead to friends and people that I knew coming to me saying, oh, hey, I know you're looking, check this out, or I know about this job. Like people then knew my story, and they came to me. And then that ultimately led to a couple freelance jobs in TV. And then it led me to CNN.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to other women moms who are trying to figure out how to balance it all? One book that I read that was helpful was Chapters by Candace Carpenter. I don't know if you read that one, but how you live life in chapters. Like you can have it all, but you don't have to have it all at the same time. It was all
That's how I see my life.
It was all about trading off with a partner. If you have a partner, and how you live a chapter, they live a chapter. So that was just one framework. But what advice would you give people on just how to figure out how to balance this very complicated life, family, parenting, career, service? Many of us, people are dealing with elder care. Like there's so many components to life as an adult in this age.
I took some notes so I wouldn't miss any of this advice. So I balance is a spectrum. So many of us think that balance is kind of like a 50-50 thing, or it needs to be even. But many of us assume that every aspect of our lives has to be healthily proportion.
Right.
When
Like
quite
a
often
nice
it's just
plate
not.
with portions of each thing.
Exactly. And so
Mhm.
it's kind of alluding to what you just said. There are periods in your life when you must dedicate yourself to specific things. Maybe you need to
Mhm.
spend more time with your children and do less time community service. You know,
Yeah.
you kind of figure out what is the right balance. Also know, and I don't think I felt this when I became a new mom, know that so much of this is temporary. You are going
Mm.
to blink and your children are going to be grown. They're going to be in college. Like whatever it is that you are going through is a temporary existence and it will change. And
Yeah.
whatever it is that you're experiencing will also pass. And I don't think, when my child was not sleeping through the night, I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life
Awake.
exhausted and in a fog
Yeah.
because my child was going to, be a grown up not sleeping
And
through
not
the night.
sleeping, yeah.
So I think some other things just to think about, give yourself grace. I think it's really important for us to do that. I'm a worrier. I worry about a lot of different things, and I
Mhm.
have to work on kind of tamping down my worry.
It's hard not
And
to as a mom.
it's so
It's
hard.
hard. I don't worry
It's
about
so hard.
myself, I worry about my children, you
Oh
know?
my goodness. I worry about my children. I worry about how they're doing. I worry when they're sick. There's just worry about everything. But I think it's really important to remind yourself you have to give yourself grace, right? Because we put so much pressure on ourselves.
Mhm.
Um, Self-care is sacred. We've talked about this before. Spend
And what is
time
your
loving.
self-care routine? Like, when
Oh,
you say self-care can mean so many things. What does it mean for
it
you?
can it can you know it can mean going to get a massage, which I do every month. My
Mhm.
fascial release massage, which has been good for my body. Um, but it could also mean reading a book. It could also mean just doing something that brings you joy,
Yeah.
right? Whatever that is. It could be tending to your garden. It could be sitting with your eyes closed. Whatever it is, just take care of yourself and love on yourself. I think that's really important. And remind yourself if you're having a hard time with doing that because you're focusing so much on your children, remind yourself to love yourself and to practice that self care.
Yeah.
Also, be realistic about what you can take on. Set boundaries. I have a tendency to say yes to everything. And I've
Wow.
learned in my older age that I can't say yes to everything. I have
Yeah.
to be able to say no and not feel guilty about it and let it pass.
Yeah.
Um, Practice gratitude. I think gratitude is really big for me. Saying that I'm grateful, speaking it in existence, maybe sometimes writing it down and letting folks know how grateful you are. And then finally, um, just breathe. We don't, I think we take breathing for granted quite a bit.
Mm.
Just, I mean, it could be something as formal as yoga or meditation, or it could just be taking a moment in your day, in your busy day, busy or otherwise, just close your eyes or open your eyes and just breathe
Mhm.
and just be mindful and aware of your breath and be grateful for your existence. I think that goes a long way.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank
Before we go,
you.
is there anything else you want to share about Mocha Moms? What do you see as the future of the organization as you look ahead?
Ooh, well, I think that folks are going to see us as speaking up a lot more about things that are happening in the world and happening in the news. I
Mm.
think people need to hear the voice of Black moms more. So you're going to see that
Mhm.
our mom's going to be much more active in terms of advocates. We will be folding in new levels of support. We'll be adding more networks to address our mothers' needs. This year, we have an initiative called We Are Not Okay, which is
Mm.
going to address the moms who've lost work,
Oh,
who
wow.
are,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about maternal health, maternal and
Mm.
infant health. We're going to
Mhm.
be talking about our kids' education, all the things in which we are not okay. But the message to our moms is let's address it, let's talk about it, and let's make sure we put these measures in place and the supports in place so we can be okay. That's kind of like the subtitle to that.
Yes, of
We are
course.
not okay, but
But
we
we need
can
to
be,
be, and
but
you can
we
help,
need to be,
right?
and we
Mhm.
will be. And so that's
Yes.
what we're going to be focusing on this year. Big maternal health conference coming for us next year. And of course, our 30th anniversary. And really happy to still exist as an incredible organization.
Yes. Congratulations. It is
amazing.
Thank you. Struggle, and we'd love to partner with you on some of those things.
Yes, we will talk more about that for sure.
Yeah.
Would love to.
Thank you so much. This has been phenomenal, a very inspiring conversation for Women's History Month. And I just encourage everyone who's seeing this or hearing it to pass it along. It will be up on our platforms indefinitely. So make sure you share it with other moms and women who may benefit from hearing it. The wisdom of Kuae Noel Kelch.
That is awesome. And thank you for all that you do. I appreciate this podcast, and I appreciate all of the incredible work that you've been doing with mothers.
Thank you. Likewise.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Good night, everyone.
Bye.